When the world finally stops spinning the way we know it, when the power grid dies, banks go silent, and the grocery store shelves turn to dust, most people will still be clutching things that no longer matter. Gold, money, and status symbols will become relics of a broken system, because in a true collapse, value doesn't vanish. It transforms. The new wealth won't be printed or mined. It'll be stocked, stored, and usable. It'll be the things that keep you breathing warm, hydrated, and alive when civilization's safety nets are gone. Picture this. The grid's been dark for 6 weeks. Your credit cards are worthless. The man who used to brag about his Rolex just traded it for a can of beans and got the bad end of the deal. Because the truth is, survival rewrites the economy overnight. What was once ordinary becomes priceless, and what was once luxury becomes trash. This isn't about fear, it's about reality. When society falls, the richest people won't be the ones with jewelry and investments. They'll be the ones with lighters, salt, water tablets, and knowledge. So, in this video we're uncovering 12 cheap, everyday items that will be worth more than gold when the system collapses. Water purification tablets. The true liquid gold. When the lights go out and the taps run dry, the first real crisis isn't food, it's water. You can survive 3 weeks without eating, but only 3 days without clean drinking water. And when desperation sets in, people will drink anything that looks remotely clear. That's when death comes silently, not from violence, but from disease. In every major disaster, from Venezuela's economic collapse to Haiti's earthquakes, the leading killer wasn't bullets or starvation, it was waterborne illness. Cholera, dysentery, and deadly diarrhea have claimed more lives than any warlord ever could. That's why water purification tablets are the single most valuable survival item when the system collapses. They're small, cheap, lightweight, and incredibly effective. A single bottle can purify hundreds of liters of water, turning poison into hydration in just 30 minutes. No electricity, no boiling, no waiting for filters to clog. People assume they can just boil their water, but boiling requires fuel, wood, gas, or electricity, all of which vanish quickly in a full-blown collapse. Even if you can find fuel, lighting a fire draws attention, and attention can get you killed when society breaks down. Tablets, on the other hand, are silent. You can use them anywhere, a ditch, a puddle, or a contaminated stream, and have drinkable water without risk. In places where the infrastructure has already crumbled, like rural Venezuela, people have traded a week's worth of food for a single blister pack of purification tablets. Why? Because when your body starts dehydrating, no amount of gold or cash will save you. Your survival depends on one thing: clean water. And in that moment, the person holding purification tablets controls life itself. Most people ignore them because they seem too simple, too ordinary, but that's exactly why they're powerful. In a world built on complexity, simplicity wins when chaos reigns. These tiny tablets don't just keep you alive, they give you control in a lawless world. They let you drink safely, move freely, and barter from a position of power. They cost almost nothing today, but when water becomes the most fought-over resource on the planet, these tablets will be worth more than gold. 2. Antibiotics. The medicine of civilization. Before the invention of antibiotics, a simple cut could kill you. Infection was a death sentence, and in a post-collapse world, it will be again. Picture this. You slice your hand while repairing a shelter. You rinse it with dirty water because there's nothing else. Within days, it's red, swollen, and oozing pus. You spike a fever. You can't move your hand. Within a week, your bloodstream is infected. Sepsis sets in, and you die from a wound smaller than a paper cut. That's how fragile we really are without modern medicine. And when hospitals close, clinics are overrun, and pharmacies are stripped bare, antibiotics become the new gold standard of survival. But here's the secret most people don't know: you can buy fish antibiotics right now legally. They're the same compounds, same dosages, same chemical structures as human-grade antibiotics. Amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin, doxycycline, the same names you'd see on a doctor's prescription, sold over the counter for aquarium use. Smart preppers have been quietly stockpiling them for years. When stored in a cool, dark place, these antibiotics can last far beyond their expiration dates, often remaining effective for years. And in a collapse, a small stash can save not just you, but an entire community. Imagine being the only person in a starving town who can treat infection. You become a walking pharmacy. Your skills and supplies make you indispensable. People will trade anything: food, tools, even weapons, for a few pills that can stop a deadly infection. It's not just about barter, it's about power. In a world where medical systems collapse, the ability to prevent or treat infections separates those who live from those who die. It's the ultimate equalizer, a handful of pills that restore the advantage humanity gained over nature. This isn't about hoarding or fear. It's about foresight. When everything breaks down, antibiotics become a form of human currency, something far beyond wealth. Because when someone's life hangs in the balance, a single capsule can be worth more than an ounce of gold. 3 tampons and feminine hygiene products. Dignity, health, and survival. When disaster strikes, half the population faces a challenge that doesn't pause for crisis: menstruation. While most preppers think about food, water, and weapons, few think about what women actually need to survive comfortably and safely. In a collapse, supply chains vanish. Pharmacies and stores are empty. Hygiene products disappear in the first wave of panic buying, and yet the biological need remains. Tampons and feminine hygiene products are far more than convenience items. They're tools of health, dignity, and survival. Without them, women are forced to use rags or other unsafe substitutes, which can lead to serious infections like toxic shock syndrome or sepsis. It's not just discomfort, it's danger. But the true genius of tampons lies in their versatility. They're sterile, compact, and highly absorbent, traits that make them incredibly useful for survival beyond their intended purpose. Military medics have used them as emergency wound packers for gunshot injuries when medical supplies ran out. They can absorb blood, stop bleeding, and protect wounds from contamination. Their absorbent cotton makes them excellent fire starters, catch a spark easily, and burn long enough to light damp kindling. In desperate situations, they can even be used to plug small holes or leaks in gear. And in the post-collapse barter economy, these will be liquid gold. Imagine being able to trade something that's essential, rare, and universally needed. Women will trade food, tools, or protection for them, because you can't improvise menstrual hygiene. It's easy to laugh at the idea of stockpiling tampons until you realize they solve one of humanity's most consistent and personal needs. They never expire, are dirt cheap now, and will become one of the most sought-after trade items when factories stop running. In every survival plan, practicality wins, and tampons are the quiet, overlooked powerhouse of true preparedness. They preserve health, restore dignity, and give you bartering leverage that few others will have. 4. Salt. The white gold of civilization. For most of history, salt wasn't a seasoning, it was currency. Empires were built on it, wars were fought over it, and cities were named after it. It's no exaggeration to say that salt once ran the world. And when the modern grid collapses, it will again. In the age of refrigeration, we've forgotten why salt was once priceless. But take away electricity, and suddenly salt becomes essential for survival on every level, from health to food preservation. Your body needs salt to function. Without sodium, your muscles fail, your mind clouds, and your organs begin to shut down. Lose enough through sweat and you'll suffer seizures, delirium, and death. It's not optional, it's biological currency. Beyond health, salt is the oldest and most reliable food preservation method humanity has ever known. Rub it into meat or fish, and it draws out moisture, preventing bacteria from growing. With salt, you can turn perishable food into long-lasting supplies that keep you fed for months. When refrigeration disappears, the person who controls the salt controls the food supply. But salt's power doesn't end with food. It disinfects wounds, cleans gear, and can even be used to tan hides or make saline solutions for medical use. It never expires, it's compact, and it's nearly indestructible. In the early days of collapse, people will overlook it until their food rots and their bodies weaken. Then they'll realize that something they once used to melt ice on the driveway is now worth trading ammunition for. Stockpiling salt is one of the simplest, cheapest moves you can make, yet it's also one of the smartest. It takes up little space, costs next to nothing, and can literally keep you alive. When the power grid goes dark and freezers die, the person with a stockpile of salt doesn't just have a seasoning, they have the key to food, trade, and survival. 5. Duct tape. The king of improvisation. When everything falls apart, the people who survive aren't always the strongest. They're the most resourceful. And duct tape is the physical embodiment of that mindset. It's not just an adhesive roll, it's an emergency engineer's dream, a temporary medic's tool, and a prepper's goldmine all in one. In a post-collapse world where there's no hardware store, no replacement parts, and no YouTube tutorials to guide you, duct tape becomes pure functional power. Why? Because speed beats perfection. When you're trying to seal a broken tent in the middle of a storm, fix a leaky canteen, or patch a boot sole before frostbite sets in, duct tape doesn't ask questions. It just works. It creates airtight seals, waterproof barriers, and temporary fixes for gear that could otherwise cost you your life. During World War II, soldiers carried duct tape to patch fuel lines, seal ammunition boxes, and even close wounds when medical supplies ran dry. NASA trusted it enough to include it on Apollo missions. Famously, astronauts on Apollo 13 used duct tape to construct a makeshift air filter that saved their lives. But beyond the ingenuity, there's a deeper truth. Collapse favors the quick thinker, not the perfect planner. Duct tape enables that instinct. It turns chaos into function and panic into action. Its only weakness is time. The adhesive breaks down with heat and humidity, so long-term preppers should store rolls in cool, dark places. Stockpiling 20-30 rolls costs less than a tank of gas, but could one day buy you food, protection, or even safe passage. Because when you can fix, seal, or bind anything, you hold a kind of power that no coin or currency can match. Duct tape isn't just a repair tool. It's a survival mindset rolled into a cylinder. 6. Lighters. The spark that defines civilization. Fire isn't just warmth or light, it's civilization in miniature form. It's cooking, sterilization, signaling, and psychological safety, all wrapped into one flick of a finger. That's why in a world without electricity or gas, a single lighter will be worth more than gold. A Bichette lighter, which costs less than $30 or $1, contains thousands of sparks and can last for months. It works in rain, wind, or freezing temperatures with no skill required. Compare that to matches which get damp and fail, or ferro rods which require practice. In a crisis, simplicity wins, and nothing is simpler or more reliable than a Bichette lighter. During the Bosnian War of the 1990s, survivors reported trading a single lighter for an entire week's worth of food. Think about that. Something you can buy in bulk for pennies became a survival currency. Fire was everything. It boiled water, cooked scavenged food, and kept morale alive during freezing nights when the power grid was gone. Preppers know that fire equals life. It purifies water when filters are gone, keeps predators away, and gives you psychological strength in the dark. Humans are wired to feel safe near flames. It's instinct. The strategy is simple. Buy in bulk, vacuum seal, and stash them everywhere. Keep lighters in your car, your bug-out bag, your jacket pocket, and even buried in your emergency cache. They never expire, take no skill, and can ignite the future when everything else is burned out. A lighter isn't a tool, it's the most valuable barter item in any collapse economy. One spark, one flame, can mean the difference between freezing and surviving, between hopelessness and life. When society falls, gold won't cook your food. But a 99-cent lighter will. 7. Paracord. The rope that saves lives. If you had to pick one piece of gear that defines self-reliance, it would be paracord. At first glance, it looks like a simple rope, but inside its woven sheath lies one of the most versatile survival tools ever made. The standard 550 paracord used by the US military can hold 550 pounds of weight. That's enough to lift, tie, hang, or drag almost anything you'd need to move in a survival scenario. But what makes it truly powerful is what's inside. Pull back the outer sheath, and you'll find 7 inner strands, each strong enough to use as fishing line, snares, sewing thread, sutures, or floss. It's like carrying an entire survival toolkit inside one cord. In a world without stores or replacement gear, paracord becomes a lifeline. Literally. You can build shelters and tie down tarps during storms, create snares or fishing rigs for food, make belts, tourniquets, or even stretchers. Lash together logs to build rafts or defenses, secure heavy loads to vehicles or backpacks. Unlike natural fiber ropes, paracord is waterproof, mildew-resistant, and lasts for decades if stored properly. It doesn't fray easily and holds knots without slipping. In survival philosophy, there's a saying, "The best gear is the gear you always carry." That's why preppers turn paracord into wearable tools, bracelets, belts, or keychains. They're stylish in normal times and life-saving in collapse times. A paracord bracelet can hold 10 feet of rope. A belt can carry 100 feet. That's enough to build a shelter, set traps, and craft dozens of survival items. It's easy to underestimate rope until you need it. In survival, the right cord can replace metal, medicine, and manpower. That's why paracord isn't just rope, it's a silent guardian of adaptability. In a barter economy, 100 feet of paracord could trade for fuel, ammunition, or food. Because those who can tie, build, and bind are the ones who rebuild. And paracord gives you the power to do all three. 8's manual can opener, the forgotten lifeline. There's a cruel irony in prepping. Millions of people stockpile canned food, but forget the one tool that actually opens it. The manual can opener. It sounds simple, almost too obvious to mention, but in a collapse scenario where electricity is gone and pull tabs fail, a manual can opener becomes the difference between starvation and survival. Canned food is one of the most practical emergency supplies. It lasts years, sometimes decades, but electric can openers, useless without power. And using a knife to pry open metal lids is a recipe for disaster. One deep cut in a world without hospitals or antibiotics can turn fatal fast. That's why the P-38 and P-55 military can openers, tiny foldable tools developed during World War II, are legendary among survivalists. They weigh less than a key, cost under $1, and last a lifetime. Soldiers carried them everywhere, attached to dog tags or belts, because they understood a simple truth: tools that feed you are priceless. In a world after collapse, canned goods will be currency. But a can is only valuable if you can open it safely. Imagine bartering. A can of beans is worth food for a day. But someone with an opener controls access to dozens. That makes the opener a power multiplier. Small enough to carry, essential enough to trade for almost anything. Keep several, one in your bag, one in your car, one at home. They don't rust easily, they weigh nothing, and they require no maintenance. The best models are small, manual, and military tested. The lesson here is bigger than just opening cans. It's about understanding real utility. When collapse strips away comfort, the smallest tools regain their throne. The manual can opener is the perfect example of that shift, because in a world without convenience, those who can open the future, literally and figuratively, become the new millionaire. 9 heavy-duty garbage bags. The unsung hero of survival. When society falls apart, survival isn't just about food and weapons. It's about adaptability, and few tools embody that better than something most people throw away every day. Heavy-duty garbage bags. They may seem mundane, but in the raw chaos of a collapse, a simple contractor-grade trash bag can be the difference between life and death. Why? Because survival isn't about having everything. It's about making the most of what you have. A single roll of these heavy-duty bags can replace half a dozen specialized tools that modern people depend on. For starters, they're completely waterproof, a lifesaver in rain, snow, or flood conditions. You can cut a hole for your head and arms, and in seconds you've got a rain poncho. Split one open, and it becomes a ground tarp to keep your sleeping area dry. Fill one with leaves or straw, and you've got an insulated mattress or emergency blanket that retains body heat through cold nights. Need to carry water? These bags can hold up to 20 gallons when sealed tight. With some sunlight and creativity, you can even make a solar still, a system that purifies water using heat and condensation. Their versatility doesn't end there. You can use them as makeshift toilets by lining a bucket, as storage containers for food or clothing, or as trash collectors to keep your shelter sanitary and disease-free. When clean water is scarce, sanitation becomes the silent killer, and garbage bags help you control it. In a barter economy, one box of 50 bags worth less than $10 today could be traded for meals, batteries, or even medicine. Because in a crisis, versatility equals value. People will trade heavily for items that solve multiple problems at once, and few things do that better than a thick, black plastic bag. Survival isn't glamorous. It's about being practical. And the person who can stay dry, clean, and organized will outlast those who don't. In a world where everything falls apart, the humble garbage bag becomes a symbol of order. 10. Knowledge, the only currency that never runs out. When the power grid goes dark and the internet dies, all the knowledge that billions once relied on vanishes in an instant. Google, YouTube, AI gone. And in that silence, the true value of stored knowledge emerges like firelight in the dark. Knowledge is the only renewable survival resource. Food runs out, batteries die, fuel dries up, but what you know and what you've preserved can't be stolen, broken, or corrupted by time. That's why in every serious collapse plan, one of the most important assets isn't a gun or generator, it's a library. Not a digital one, but a physical one. Printed, laminated, waterproofed, and stored safely. Imagine this. You've got a survival camp running smoothly until someone breaks an arm or a child gets a fever. The hospitals are gone, doctors are unreachable, and your only hope lies in what you've learned. A printed first aid manual or herbal medicine guide suddenly becomes worth more than gold. The same goes for survival skills: water purification, wild plant identification, food preservation, hunting, navigation, shelter building, and even small-scale agriculture. These are the building blocks of civilization itself. Pre-collapse, you can download and print hundreds of free manuals from reputable sources like the U.S. Army Survival Guide, the Red Cross First Aid Handbook, or homesteading books on food storage and canning. Once printed, seal them in waterproof folders or mylar sleeves and store them in multiple locations. But here's the real secret. Don't just store knowledge, learn it, practice it, memorize it. Because paper can burn, but a skill in your mind survives any catastrophe. When the world collapses, the person who can heal the sick, find water, fix machines, or grow food becomes indispensable. They become the new elite in a world where status is measured by usefulness. Gold can be stolen, knowledge can't. In the end, the most powerful survivors will be those who carry their wealth in their minds and have the wisdom to pass it on. 11. Heirloom seeds. The power to feed a dead world. Once the chaos settles, survival isn't about hiding, it's about rebuilding. And that begins with food. Canned goods run out. Hunting areas get stripped. But heirloom seeds offer something far more precious. Self-sustaining life. Every prepper dreams of long-term independence. And heirloom seeds are the first step toward it. Unlike genetically modified GMO or hybrid seeds that produce sterile offspring, heirloom seeds are open-pollinated. That means every harvest can yield new seeds, capable of growing again next season. In other words, you're creating a renewable food source. A true miracle in a collapsing economy. Think about it. A handful of seeds can produce hundreds of pounds of food. Beans, corn, potatoes, squash, tomatoes, herbs. Each one is a potential meal, a potential trade item, a potential future. In a world of scarcity, food becomes currency, and those who can grow it become kings. The value of seeds skyrockets during crises. In the Great Depression and during wartime famines, people traded seeds for tools, protection, even land. In Venezuela's recent economic collapse, locals turned to backyard gardens just to survive hyperinflation. The pattern is clear. When money dies, agriculture replaces the market. To prepare, invest in sealed heirloom seed kits, store them in mylar bags or vacuum-sealed containers, and keep them in cool, dark, dry places. Under proper conditions, many seeds last 5-10 years, sometimes longer, and don't just hoard them. Learn to grow them. Gardening is a skill that takes time, and the middle of a collapse isn't the place to learn through failure. Start small. Grow herbs, greens, or beans in pots or small patches now. Understand your soil, your climate, and your water sources. Because when collapse hits, the one who grows food controls not just their stomach, but their destiny. In the post-collapse barter economy, a single tomato seedling or a bag of corn seed might be traded for batteries, ammo, or medicine. Seeds are the ultimate equalizer. They don't care about status or wealth. They only respond to care, patience, and skill. And in a world built on survival, that makes them worth more than gold, silver, or any currency ever printed. 12 rechargeable batteries, solar charger, power in your pocket. Imagine the grid goes down permanently. No lights, no phone charging, no tools. The night returns to its ancient silence, and fear creeps back with it. But in that darkness, one small thing can separate hope from despair: a charged battery. While everyone else fumbles with dead flashlights and useless electronics, the prepared few will be quietly generating their own power. The secret? Rechargeable batteries paired with a solar charger. Today, you can buy a pack of AA or AAA NIMH rechargeable batteries and a compact foldable solar panel for less than the price of a dinner. But in a world where power lines are dead and fuel is gone, that setup becomes a self-sustaining energy source. These batteries can power flashlights, radios, headlamps, GPS units, medical devices, and even small fans or tools. They're reusable hundreds of times, and with solar panels, they become essentially infinite. That's not just survival, that's civilization in miniature. In the barter economy of collapse, charged batteries will be as valuable as water. People will trade food, protection, or medical aid for power, especially when night falls. Those who own solar chargers can even sell electricity as a service. You charge others' batteries or devices in exchange for goods or favors. Beyond utility, there's also psychological power. Light represents security. It keeps predators, both animal and human, at bay. It boosts morale. It reminds people that life goes on, even in darkness. A single working flashlight can calm a group, signal for help, or allow safe travel after sunset. Your survival plan should include at least 5,100 rechargeable batteries, AA and AAA type, multiple solar chargers, some small for portability, others larger for base use. A solar power bank to store energy during the day for use at night. Protect them from water, heat, and theft. Because when collapse strikes, power will become one of the most guarded and traded resources on Earth. When everyone else is living in darkness, the one who can bring light becomes the new provider.